In this lesson, we're going to explore some spanning tree configuration options on our Arista switches. When you receive a new Arista switch, fire it up and log in, you'll notice that by default, the switch runs in MST mode, or multiple spanning tree. And we can see that here on our lab switch, show spanning dash tree, enter. And this switch is running in spanning tree mode MST. Some folks may not be experienced with MST. No problem. You can simply change the mode to Rapid PVST or RSTP. We can see our options in config mode. Type config, enter, and then spanning dash tree mode space question mark. And we can see our options here. The backup, the MSTP, none to turn it off on a VLAN, rapid PVST or RSTP. So let's change it to RSTP. Enter. Now, if I do a show spanning dash tree, enter, we see that our spanning tree enabled protocol is now RSTP. We have other options here as well. Back in the config mode and issue the command spanning dash tree and then the keyword VLAN, and we'll play around with VLAN 12 space question mark. And we see we have the options of priority and root. So if we use the priority keyword, another question mark, we can see our bridge priority in increments of 4096. We can set the bridge priority to help influence the potential of this switch either being elected or not being elected as the root bridge. We can set the path cost at the interface level. So if we were to type interface Ethernet 4, enter, and then spanning dash tree, and then the keyword cost in question mark, we can see where we can influence the interface's spanning tree path cost. We can also enable port fast on an interface so that we transition to forwarding much faster. The command to do that would be spanning dash tree port fast, and then we can simply just hit enter. And right away, we'll get a warning message that port fast should only be enabled on ports connected to a single host. Connecting hubs, concentrators, switches, bridges, etc. to this interface when port fast is enabled can cause temporary bridging loops. Use with caution. Primarily, you'll see port fast used where devices are connecting and those devices don't have a static IP, but rather rely on DHCP, or the Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. You may see this less often in a data center switch and more often in an IDF or closet switch. Also, on a per port basis, we can enable root guard to prevent a port from becoming the root port. The command to do that is spanning dash tree guard and then the keyword root. Globally, we can configure some of our BPDU settings. For example, the bridge timers. We'll exit the interface. Now we're in global configuration mode. We can do spanning dash tree and then hello dash time in question mark. We can change the number of milliseconds between the generation of our configuration BPDUs. Also, BPDU guard can enable or disable BPDU guard at both the global level and at a specific interface level. So in global configuration, that would be spanning dash tree, port fast, BPDU guard, and then default and enter. And at the interface level, if we want to turn it off, interface Ethernet 4, spanning dash tree, BPDU guard, and the keyword disable, enter. Another option is BPDU filtering. We can enable BPDU filtering to prevent the switch from receiving and sending BPDUs on specific port channel interfaces or physical interfaces. So if we stay here and keep picking on interface Ethernet 4, in interface Ethernet 4's configuration mode, we'll type spanning dash tree, BPDU filter, and then enable, enter. There are plenty of knobs to be turned within the spanning tree configuration. Be sure to check out the Arista configuration guide and the related articles on EOS Central for information specific to configuration and interoperability.